Hello everybody, I would like to welcome you today on the Pre-Go Live Performance Testing webinar. I'm going to drive today this solo and gladly welcome everybody. And yeah, let's jump in right into the PowerPoint presentation where we're going to discuss three elements. I'm going to introduce you to Executive Automates, the testing tool that one of the byproduct it creates or it generates is the performance test or possibility to do the scalability test, to do pre-go live testing or verification if the hardware, which is going to be used for production after go live, is verified. It's sort of certified that it will remain stable even with high stress. I'm going to show you a real case study we've delivered later to the customer side, and then we're going to jump into the showcase. So we'll simply record a process, automate it, and overview the results from the perspective of Azure Monitor. So Microsoft Dynamics 365 Codeless Automated Testing. This is the starting point. I would like to introduce you to Executive Automates, the application which probably most of you already know. This is our own product for testing, created in AX 2009, then upgraded to 2012. And finally, in finance and operations, it is there present as a separate site. We are actually deploying a server which is not doing anything with finance and operations. This is just external application which connects to Dynamics by our own methodology, and it makes it very easy. You can very easily redirect the connection to any other environment that exists in your application stack. One of the key features we were focusing to deliver to have the test automation is zero coding experience. We wanted to empower business users, empower testers, so they can do very advanced testing, including negative testing, including some validation, checking of the results in a very simple way. So zero coding experience, something like a macro, record and play, which you're going to see. Aside of that, of course, we've got multiple possibilities to set some data, like Excel files, variables, number sequences, and so on. These elements are important to make your test cases reusable. The reusability aspect is very critical when it comes to performance tests, because we are talking right now about creation of 100 customers within a short period of time, or posting 1,000 invoices, again, with very short period of time. So these elements are important to be set, and then this makes your process possible or capable of running the load testing. What you see right now is the Lifecycle Services screenshot from the Tier 5 environment, which we were able to stress it. And it was a heavy stress. As you see, one of the customer, they wanted to verify if the blueprint of scalability will give them the exact expectations that after go live they're going to be able to handle this amount of users, and the amount was equal to 650 users in parallel. I mean, in 15 minutes doing transactions, multiple different transactions, sales creation, some EDI, interconnection, some pricing creation, some journal postings. These transactions were identified as critical, and with a specific numbers, we were able to optimize that, deliver this, stress test. And as you see, when we started at 18:30, so 6:30 p.m., we were able to actually go so low with available memory on 4 of the AOSs that 4 of them they simply turned off. So we had significant issues with load balancing. We had significant load on the CPU, and from the sessions, as we saw the execution, it came out that there were multiple crashes. Some transactions were incompleted because the system just turned off. On some iOSs, left them simply in nowhere. Some other transactions were able to proceed, but we've actually showed that within those 15 minutes, this amount of people on that 12 AOSs set up, 6 on batch and 6 for business operations, is practically good, but it might have some downtimes. So we just proved that it might work insufficiently. It might need some tweak up before the go live will happen. So this type of events are ideal for us to test, to set some goal and try to achieve that. If we're going to have this type of results, then it is good to discuss with your partner or with your IT what to do to mitigate the risk of poor performance. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to jump into the executive automates and I'm going to show you a little bit more regarding the setup and the recording. But I'd like to mention that performance testing is one of the aspects. There are multiple others, along with business process optimization, along with automatic scripts for rollouts, along with documentation, and actually along with security creation. So the executive automates can be treated as all-in-one solution to address most of the common issues known for implementation process. Maybe that's enough talking. I'm going to simply jump into the browser and we're going to show you some features regarding performance tests. So I'm going to prepare here my executive automates page and I'm going to prepare here also Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor is applied to one of our test machines. As you see, I've done a few minutes ago for testing perspective some tests to show you how easy it is to generate a stress on one of our boxes. I'm going to jump back to the executive automates and let me show you how we are identifying, how we are recording and scaling up the execution. We've got right now 523. What I'm going to do, I'm going to simply refresh the monitor to show you that this application right now is quite overloaded. This is the current situation on the environment. We are running some processes. I'm going to refresh again. In a few minutes, it will actually remain. Actually, we've got right now no data, so this means probably that system is um, going down finally after my stress testing. 74% of utilization. I'm going to jump into the executive automates and I'm going to identify for you one process that's going to be executed in parallel to simulate that load. Very often sales processes are mostly important. I'm going to start with sales creation, stress test. Okay, default environment and default user means that we're going to record on the system which is default applied to the project. Simply the application that we are operating right now is of course dedicated for testing. Those test cases of course are created normally for testing perspective, but right now we are recording a business process which is definitely dedicated for performance testing. And these type of processes, they've got their own principles, they've got their own mechanism which we need to apply. So there are a little bit differences between a typical test case or typical performance case. And of course, we are not only focusing on one process, we are able to record multiple of them. So the cases like simulation of 1 day of after go live, where we are executing multiple test cases along the day. Let's say we are simulating 2 or 3 hours within the business day, and we are running 10 or 15 processes on specific amount of users, is helping us build these dependencies, build this load, which is more real load that we're expecting. So right now, simple as always, I'm going to record and play back the process. This will be a sales creation. So I'm going to select the customer, select line, maybe check the credit limit, and I'm going to leave this for some tweaking regarding advanced conditionals. I'm going to show you in just a second. Let's add the line. If you're going to do some mistakes, you can always correct that. For performance processes, it is essential to have your recordings clean, to not have some additional elements. We want to recreate how the user works. We want to do it precisely. Only then those results will actually reflect the load, and there will be less places to have some deadlocks on the database. We are utilizing mostly one user, so this is a critical aspect. Okay, we've got this. So let's then go to the credit limit, checking, and we should be ready to go. Responding. Finally, we've got the credit limit is okay. So I can tell that the process is ready, completed. I can pause it, I can save it, and then I can play back for consistency check just to see if process will be repeated without any problems. And this process actually doesn't need any specific tweaks from the data this dependency, because the customer can be always the same, item ID can be always the same, as well as the site location and the price. For processes where we need uniqueness of the data, we are utilizing number sequences or Excel files or some advanced coding to make sure that this will be repeatable. As you see right on the right hand side, we've got the statuses. So the system will execute this test case, and it will apply a correct status for every step execution. In case that we're going to fail, we're going to see an error message. In case that we're going to have warning message, it will be a yellow triangle here informing what exactly was the outcome. So the info logs generated are stored here. So let's wait till the end of the execution, and we're going to show you a few more steps that are required to receive the parallel sessions, or let's say load session, on our endpoint. In the meantime, I'm going to simply jump into our monitor just to see if the system went down a little bit. I think it should remain fresh. It is just 24% of utilization of CPU, so it goes down. So it is quite quiet on the environment, and we'll be able to stress this out and show you exactly what impact it will have. Okay, the application, the executive automats went through the process. We've got success marks, everything looks good. And what I can do right now, I can simply record more processes. If I would like to do more cross-verification of few processes executed in parallel, for that element we are utilizing scheduler. So I can create here, add a performance run, and there are two types of executions. When we are considering just one process executed in parallel, we are doing this with basic mode, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to just quickly show you what is the GANT. GANT is more reflection of the real life scenario. The GANT gives me the possibility to actually uh, build a structure of test cases which are going to be executed one by one or with some dependencies. So I can build a quick Gantt graph, which shows that one test case will be executed, then the second one will have dependencies. So only when the first one will end, then the second one will start. And I can group and move the others, so they can sort of recreate the one day of your after go live system to make sure that it will meet the requirements when the day will come. So this is highly advanced. For our purpose right now, I'm going to make it simple. Of course, all of those tasks then they can be repeated. So I can create 100 sales orders. Here I can create 20 purchases. Then again 100 sales orders, and let's say 1500 fixed asset creation. So these tasks can be executed on precise moment. Of course, they start in that moment. If they're going to be multiple executions, the end date is not precise here. It depends on the performance of the application. Let me jump back to the general page where I'm going to change this to basic mode, and I'm going to right now to the start time at 5:33. So I'm going to have some time to show you and discuss with you some elements. Go to the flow, go with the flow, and let's take our sales creation stress test process, move it up, and let's set here 30 repetitions, repeat count. This means that this specific process will be executed 30 times. 30 times in the same moment, delivering multiple transactions. Of course, in here, there is a list of all possible transactions, all test cases that are defined. You can see there's a filtering based on project. Project for us is the aggregation, so I can find out specific test cases from a specific area. I can filter by statuses, so ready and reviewed processes can be published, so I know exactly what to test and what to consider for these type of activities. Right now I can save my editing. It's correct to save it to 30. Then I can save, so I've got 30 executions. I can activate and wait for 5:33. So the system will let me execute this in parallel. As we are not super interested in the history of the execution because we want to see the load, so we want to see exactly how system will behave, I'm going to simply switch to the Azure monitor and be prepared when the execution will happen. So let's wait for a few seconds and I will clarify and explain a few more concepts behind the tool. Um, from the perspective of load and the infrastructure, the application doesn't give you any limits. We are able to simulate 30, 50, 100, 150, 200, 600 users working in parallel or working in a specific time frame. As the methodology we are creating for these type of tests, it is practically the amounts are not equal. If we are thinking about 600 users doing one task in the organization, they will never do that in sort of reflected or mirrored way. They always have some delay. They always have some dependency. Somebody is working, somebody is on the break, somebody is doing something else. So the 600 as our customer is asking for is more or less 400 or 350 to be simulated, and that actually reflects those 600 users working, but in a specific time frame. So we're considering this exercise more scaled, a little bit fewer amounts, but in, let's say, 15 minutes time frame, or we can do 600 but in time frame of 30 minutes. So then it is more possible that those 600 users that they work in organization, they do that in the same sort of time frame. The whole concept and theory behind that is quite complicated, but more and more projects we do, we're going to come up with to you with more results after sort of, we can say, um, devastating few tier-fied environment. We were able to finalize some approaches and find out that it is not worth to sort of maximize this on the beginning. It is good to do step by step. There are some elements we are proposing to the end customers within the performance testing projects. So we've executed this on 5:33, and as you see, we actually reached 90% of the CPU utilization, which is quite significant. And we see here no data. There is a high chance that we've actually killed the environment, as this might be quite possible right now. As you see, the logical disk IOPS went down drastically, and the rest of the statistics, they say practically the same, that we've got quite a bit of move, and this was only 30 sessions in parallel. Of course, this is not a significant environment. This is just a dev box, but it gives you the scale and simplicity that we are operating with to deliver you the performance testing. The same exercise can be simply changed to any other endpoint. The process that we are executing, they've got a definition On the header, on the general pane, I can change the account which is used, so the virtual user, along with the environment. So I can redirect from update 42 to update 36 to update 38. In the same story, this can be SIT, pre-release, release, which can be tier 5, tier 4, and tier 3 environment, which will have different behavior. So this is not like you are limited and those test cases are quite fixed for the environment. This is highly reusable, and what is also important, if you're going to build your test cases for regression, it will be quite easy to rebuild them or prepare them for performance testing. So high number of transactions in a short time, this will be something you can do. This and much, much more, which is in the application. We would like to invite you to just have a hands-on on the application, to test it out, to stress out your environment, to make sure that your go live will be as planned. And this is something we wish everybody to have very efficient dynamic system and to meet all requirements which are set by the business. Thank you so much. I wish you a happy evening. And yeah, stay tuned for more materials that we're going to publish, more webinars, because there is a plenty things coming, and we are super proud of the application. Yeah, which we do practically every quarter new version. So yeah, there is a plenty stuff we develop, and yeah, super happy to have this session today. Have a great day.